Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to make these pants and I'm going to show you how. There's only about 8 or 9 steps in this entire pattern, so it's not going to take too long. I chose to use this gorgeous dusky pink flannelette fabric, and I started by first ironing the fabric to remove the creases. So I only have enough for one back, another back, and one front piece here. So I'm not going to be able to make a full pair of pants with the fabric that I've got. This is how much I've actually got left after I cut them all out. So what I'm thinking, and don't do this, this is not what I recommend, don't do what I am doing, but I'm thinking of actually cutting it on the cross grain along here on the front piece, because the back will probably have more wear than front, and I'm hoping one piece being cut on the cross grain will be able to sort of give us some forgiveness. But I'll probably just run out of fabric, so I'll have to cut this a bit shorter anyway. Here is the last back piece and the first front piece. The grain line isn't entirely parallel with the grain. I think it's out by a centimetre. So this side's, I don't know, 50 centimetres, this side's 51 centimetres. So it's slightly out. I had some trouble with here, so this is slightly off, and here is slightly going over, but I did draw a line here, so that's the actual seam mark for sewing. So I think I'm just going to cut there and then cut along here and then keep going, because I don't really want to chop that chunk out on this side. So this side as well is also out by a smidge, I think a centimetre more and a centimetre less. And this side, I did actually have to pin this pattern through this part of the fabric. But yeah, I think we'll get away with what limited amount of fabric we have. I think I bought a metre under than what I was supposed to. To start making the pants, pin the inner leg edges right sides together, pinning all the way from the crotch edge to the hem. Don't pin or sew any further than this mark, otherwise if you do sew the whole crotch, then your pants will start to look like a skirt. I did this once on accident and I have never done it again. Then sew this all together. Make sure to backstitch at the start and end of your stitches. After sewing, I decided to iron the seams open and overlock the edges, then gave it another press. You probably don't have to press this again, but it makes the seams look so good. My overlock thread started off as black, and I can't be bothered to manually change the thread. So what I did is snip the threads near the cones, put my cream colour cones on, then tie a knot to connect the black thread and the cream coloured thread together. I usually just grab a scrap piece of fabric and sew this through until the new colour comes out. Keep checking your thread when you overlock, because sometimes the knots like to untie themselves. I find this happens more often on the 2 top needle threads, and now my overlocking threads are all cream. Pin the crotch seams together, so you have the front pinned to the front and the back pinned to the back. Especially put a pin in the seam to match the seams together. Do this and you'll get a stunning seam junction every time. Then stitch this seam. After sewing this together, I also wanted to overlock the edges, so I initially sewed the 6mm seam as it said on the pattern to help give it more stability, but I soon realised this wasn't enough seam allowance to keep this and do overlocking. So I unpicked the extra seam at the 6mm seam allowance. I overlocked the edges first. Then once I did that, I took them to the sewing machine and then I sewed a 6mm seam allowance. I personally chose not to trim at the curve as I was planning to overlock both edges. However, you can do what you like.
Obviously, don't go and do that, please.
Now, you do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
No, we can't. Live!
After overlocking both, I then ironed the seams for a neat and satisfying finish. The crotch is done. What next? Well, we need to change how these pieces are laid out. Move the pant leg so that the front and back are right sides together. Don't sew the front and front together or you'll end up with a massive skirt. Sew the front to the back with right sides facing. Then I took these pants to the overlocker and overlocked the edges opened. Then I moved to the ironing board, which is propped up on the cutting table, and ironed this to get some very crisp seams. This part is purely to make another later step so much easier. Sew a basting stitch on the seam allowance edges to hold down the seam allowance flappy bits. This will make it so much easier when threading the elastic through the casing. To make the elastic casing so that the pants can fit on the waist, turn the upper edge of the pants to the inside by 3.2 centimeters. Press this down with an iron and check the measurements frequently whilst ironing. I pinned the folds down at first. I then folded a 6mm fold on the edge to hide the raw edge. Then measured the remaining length and ironed the folded 6mm edge flat around the casing. For this section of the pants where you can see the selvage, I made the fold slightly wider to hide the selvage edge. Once this was done, I put the pins through the fold to hold in place. Then I took the pants to the sewing machine and top stitched the casing closed. I left a small opening to insert the elastic on the side of the pants, and look at that, I cannot even tell where the selvage edge was. Now it was time to put the elastic through the casing. I clipped this bodkin contraption onto the edge of the elastic. If you don't have one of these, you can just use a good quality safety pin. A cheap quality one can be very weak and want to undo itself in the casing, which is not fun. Trust me, I speak from experience. This bodkin thing works by pushing the metal ring down close to the teeth, which chomps down onto the elastic. I don't really know how else to explain it, but that's how I understand it. So I threaded the bodkin attached to the elastic waistband through. By the way, I chose not to cut the elastic before threading in the casing because I wanted to try this on first and adjust the fit before cutting to know how it would fit. Whilst threading the elastic, some parts were really hard to pull the elastic through, especially where the seams are. I found these areas to be quite difficult. My bodkin teeth slipped off the elastic at one point and I had to pull out the elastic and bodkin to start all over again. Then, once I threaded the elastic through the casing and past all the seams, I pulled it through the opening. I tried on the pants, then tightened the elastic to my waist where it felt a loose, comfortable fit. Mark where I want the elastics to join, so I know exactly how they are supposed to connect up. Then took off the pants and took them to the sewing machine. I sewed the elastic together, backstitching at the start, then sewing a rectangle around where the elastic ends overlap, and backstitch once the rectangle has been sewn. And now the elastic is securely sewn in place. Now that your elastic is securely sewn in place, we're going to sew the casing closed. I actually stuffed up with the elastic stretching method and had to unpick and start again. So what I did, I moved the fabric on the elastic so it wasn't crinkled from the elastic. Then I put some pins in the fold to secure the casing and also help stop me from accidentally sewing through the elastic. I backstitched at the end and the elastic casing is finished. In this step, I also removed the basting stitches we used to help hold the seams in place when threading the elastic through. To finish the hem of the pants, I first turned the hem by 3.2 centimeters. Or if you're shorter and want to adjust it to a length that suits you, you can. This length is going to be a little bit longer on me. However, I find that when I'm in bed, my pajama pants rides up and my ankles get cold. So I'm going to keep my ankles covered, and I don't mind the baggy hem look. So I turn the hem by 3.2 centimeters, frequently checking with my measuring tape and ironing over. Be careful not to iron the measuring tape. I chose not to baste because I think I missed reading this part of the step. I think that was the only reason why I didn't do it. I put some pins in the fold to help hold it in place. Then once the hem is done, turn the raw edges by 6 mils and iron this flat too. I moved the pins to now hold the 6mm fold, then top stitch the hem. I did the exact same thing to the other leg, and now the pants are finished. One extra teeny tiny little step I added on for this pattern. I sewed on a decorative white bow at the center front to help identify which is the front and back of the pants. It gets annoying after a while identifying the pants by looking at the crotch seam, so I decided to do this instead. I basically just tied a bow out of some ribbon I found in my stash and hand sewed it on. Something felt a little missing for this bow, so I added a pink bow and hand sewed that on too. And now the pants are all finished. I hope you enjoy your handmade comfy pajama pants. It's time for bedtime. Just kidding, it's a sleepover party. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.